Steps involved in tracking changes to files. Track changes to files to understand modifications and collaborate effectively. Use cases. Version control. Maintain a history of changes to code or documents, allowing you to revert to previous versions if needed. For example, a software developer uses version control to track changes to their codebase, enabling them to roll back to a stable version if a bug is introduced. Use cases. Collaboration. Facilitate teamwork by allowing multiple individuals to work on the same project simultaneously, while ensuring that all changes are tracked and merged appropriately. For instance, a team of writers collaborates on a document using version control to track edits, resolve conflicts, and maintain a unified version. Use cases. Bug fixing. Identify and fix errors in code or documents by comparing different versions to pinpoint the source of the problem. A programmer utilizes version control to analyze changes between versions to pinpoint the commit that introduced a bug and then fix it accordingly. Inputs files to track the specific files or directories that need to be monitored for changes. For example, a programmer may track all files in their project directory. Inputs previous versions, past versions of the files being tracked, used to compare and identify modifications. For example, a version control system stores snapshots of the codebase at different points in time. Inputs user information, details about the individuals making changes to the files, such as their name and email address. This information helps track who made specific changes. Outputs change logs, records of all modifications made to the files, including the date, time, and user who made the change. A developer can review the change log to understand the evolution of their codebase. Outputs diff reports, detailed comparisons between different versions of the files, highlighting the exact lines that have been added, removed, or modified. A writer can use a diff report to see the specific changes made by collaborators. Outputs commit history, a chronological list of all changes made to the files, including the associated commit messages that explain the purpose of the changes. For example, a programmer can view the commit history to trace the development process of a feature. Commands add stage changes to files, indicating that they should be included in the next commit. For example, a developer adds modified code files to the staging area before committing them. Commands commit create a snapshot of the staged changes, capturing a specific point in the project's history. A writer might commit their edits to a document to record a milestone. Commands push send changes from a local repository to a remote server, allowing others to access the latest updates. For instance, a programmer pushes their code changes to a shared repository on a remote server. Steps 1. Initialize repository. Create a new version control repository to track changes to the files. For example, a programmer might initialize a Git repository in their project directory. Steps 2. Stage changes. Select the files that have been modified and mark them for inclusion in the next commit. For example, a developer stages their changes to specific code files. Steps 3. Commit changes. Create a snapshot of the staged changes, capturing a specific point in the project's history and adding a descriptive commit message. For example, a writer commits their edits to a document, adding a message describing the changes. Steps 4. Push to remote. Send the committed changes from the local repository to a remote server, allowing others to access the latest updates. For example, a programmer pushes their code changes to a shared repository on a remote server. Challenges and fixes. Conflicting changes. When multiple individuals modify the same files concurrently, their changes may clash, Resolve conflicts. Manually merge conflicting changes by examining the differences and selecting the desired modifications. For example, a programmer resolves conflicts in their code by merging changes made by other developers. Challenges and fixes. Lost changes, accidental deletions, or data corruption can lead to the loss of important modifications. Recover from backup. Restore lost changes from backups or previous versions stored by the version control system. A writer can recover deleted text by reverting to a previous version of their document. Challenges and fixes. Unintentional changes, mistakes, or accidental modifications can introduce errors into the files. Undo or revert changes. Reverse unwanted changes using version control commands to restore files to a previous state. A developer can use the revert command to undo changes that introduced a bug into their code.